ਅੱਜ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਇੱਕ ਵਾਰੀ ਫਿਰ ਤੋਂ ਸਿਮਸਨ ਥਾਮਸਨ ਐਂਡ ਐਸੋਸੀਏਟਸ ਤੋਂ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਪਾਰਟਨਰ ਤੇ ਨਾਲ ਲਾਇਰ ਮੈਲ ਚੌਧਰੀ ਸਟੂਡੀਓ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਨੇ। ਸੋ ਅੱਜ ਅਸੀਂ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ ਡਿਵੋਰਸ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ, ਫੈਮਿਲੀ ਲਾਅ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ। ਸੋ ਸਟੂਡੀਓ 'ਚ ਨੇ ਇੱਕ ਕਰਕੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਸਵਾਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਕਿੰਨਾ ਕੁ ਔਖਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਡਿਵੋਰਸ ਲੈਣਾ, ਕਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਦਾ ਧਿਆਨ ਰੱਖਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਹੈ, ਲਾਅ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਰਿਲੇਟਡ ਉਹਦੇ ਇਰਦ ਗਿਰਦ ਰਹਿ ਕੇ ਕੁਛ ਨਾ ਕੁਛ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀਆਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਅੱਜ ਦੇਣ ਦੀ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ। ਮਿਸਟਰ ਚੌਧਰੀ, ਵੈਲਕਮ ਟੂ ਪ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਏਸ਼ੀਆ TV।
Thank you for having me.
How's it going, sir?
Good.
Amazing.
It's a good day.
अगर मैं हिंदी में सवाल पूछूं तो चलेगा?
ठीक है.
That'll be good. So when we talk about this divorce, एक तो पहले इसका नाम ही हमारे कई रिचुअल्स में लगता है कि ये तो बात ही गलत है, जैसे this is something wrong, this shouldn't happen, like in our societies how do people think.
Right.
So when talking about this divorce, so many things to ask, but what's the first general advice? जब भी कोई कपल आपके पास आता है एडवाइस लेने के लिए या कोई इंडिविजुअल आपके पास आता है फॉर एन एडवाइस रिगार्डिंग द डिवोर्स, सो व्हाट्स द फर्स्ट थिंग यू गाइस केयर अबाउट?
So the first thing you want to know is whether they should actually get divorced, right? Because what happens is the law encourages people not to divorce. Because if you think about it, people get into fights, their thinking is not rational, they're mad. What's the first thing they want to do? Let's break up. Well, law doesn't want to make it too easy to break up. So what happens is, as a lawyer, I have to encourage people, if you can, try to take steps to make it better. Go for some counseling. Now, if it's decided between them that we just can't do this, we know it's not going to work out, then what has to happen is they have to wait a year that they live separate and apart, and then after that, they're able to apply for a divorce.
Okay.
So when I'm giving couples advice, like an individual will come to me for advice, first thing I want them to understand is know what your rights are. Know what your rights are and don't try to take advantage of the other person. Because when that happens, when somebody says in their mind, I want to take advantage of the partner, that's when the legal costs rise. Because the other person's going to know this and they're going to spend thousands of dollars in legal fees.
Mr. Chowdhury, this is so important. Typically you're saying no to your business when you're saying this, that the law advise or you advise that whether should they go for divorce. That's what you guys are there for.
Right.
But how does this thing work? How does this equation fits in?
So one of the legislation that governs us as lawyers is the Family Law Act.
Okay.
The Family Law Act says I as a lawyer have an obligation to encourage people to reconcile, to sort things out.
Okay. So whenever a couple comes to you, this is your first thing. You always settle out the things. Try to settle out rather than going for divorce.
Right.
Okay.
But sometimes what happens is it's not possible. And if they've come to that decision and they're ready that, we need to do this, because sometimes couples are very unhappy.
Okay.
And then what happens in the long run, they might not be better off being together, right? Life will be better when they're separate. So if that's the situation and they're ready to move on, and then we go to the next step.
What usually the people think, like that the way law is now, the people are making use of it. The law is encouraging them to divorce. It has been so easy. It's kind of so trendy, the divorce nowadays. There people are getting divorced like that. You just see them, they just got married, and after a while you see them that they're separated.
Right.
So what way we normal people think like the law is encouraging them to get divorced? It has become so easy. So how do you state to this statement?
So the law doesn't encourage people to get divorced. It's actually the opposite, right?
Okay.
Because, so for example, if you get into an argument and say, I want to get a divorce ASAP, as soon as possible.
Okay.
Jaldi edam. So you can't do that. There's only very specific...
Things take time?
There's specific grounds where you can get a divorce. Okay. So one is if the other person cheats on you, commits adultery, then you can get a divorce right away.
Okay.
If the other person is so cruel, physical or mental abuse, where it's not reasonable to expect another person to stay with them, then you can get a divorce right away.
By right away, you mean what?
You can apply for a divorce, go see a lawyer, and start the process, start the paperwork.
Okay.
Yeah, but for the most part, that's very difficult, right? Most times people will not be able to prove that somebody is cheating on them.
Yeah.
The other person's not going to admit it.
They just have the feeling that they're not connected.
Yeah.
So sometimes they are living in a certain ways, they're living under same shelter, but they're not connected.
Right.
So it has been years. So they come to and plan like unitedly. वो एक decision पे आते हैं कि let's get divorced. They don't have anything to say, but they just don't want to live together.
Right. In that situation, you've got to live separate. They say separate and apart for a year, and then you can apply for a divorce.
Then you can. Okay. And what are the factors that needs to be considered at the time of divorce?
Yeah, that's a good question. So basically, for family law, usually there's the same issues. So the one issue you get through the divorce, it's the division of property. Okay. Another one is spousal support. Does one spouse have to pay another spouse ongoing maintenance? There's parenting time. So how much time are the kids going to spend with one parent, the other parent? Where are they going to live? Who's going to make the decisions? Another one is child support. Okay, those are usually the main issues to be sorted out.
So हमारे लोगों को प्रॉपर्टी डिवीजन के बारे में कुछ कन्फ्यूजन्स हैं. जैसे नॉर्मली लोगों को लगता है कि एट द टाइम ऑफ डिवोर्स द स्पाउस इज गोइंग टू टेक हाफ ऑफ व्हाट द अदर like the spouse has. So how does these things work? Like this, especially the property division thing. So is it what they are getting after the married, or what they are getting hereditary? Still, that property goes into division into half. How does this property division works? What is the equation? What are the things courts see? How does you see this thing?
So generally, there's always exceptions, right?
Okay.
But the general rule is any property obtained during the marriage by either spouse is going to be divided. So any property...
During the marriage means after the marriage?
Yeah, so basically from the time you get married until you get separated, any property that either of them bring in to the family or for each other, it's going to be divided, including the debts though. So the property, the assets, and any debts. Right.
So whatever has happened before marriage, whatever you have got before marriage, whether it's from your parents coming, either you have bought it, that doesn't has anything to take at the time of divorce.
Right. So the things that are not divided, if you have property that you bring into the marriage, that's not divided. That's yours. That's excluded. Same thing with any inheritance. Let's say you're even married and somebody's family passes away and they leave you a house. That's separate. That's not to be divided. Any gifts by family members or friends, that's not to be divided either. The only thing that is to be divided, though, of those things, is if you get a house and the value increases after you get it, after the marriage, then you have to divide the increase in the value.
Okay. And how does this spousal support or the child care that works? That who's the child is going to live with either with the mother or the father? How's those decisions make? Like who gets the spousal support? How are those like the decisions being made at the court?
So what happens is not every case will there be spousal support. Not every case, right? But generally speaking, the longer the marriage is, the more likely that spousal support will be awarded. And what happens is the thought is that the couple is together as a family unit. So both people make sacrifices for the family. So one spouse might not work, but by them doing all the housework, taking care of the kids, the other spouse can then go spend more time on their career and they can make more money.
That can be male, female, anyone.
It doesn't matter, right? So how is it fair then the family breaks up? This one spouse who puts in all that time taking care of the kids, she doesn't advance her career. The other one has the time to do that. How is it fair if she doesn't have or he doesn't have the advantages of the other person's income, right? So that's the whole idea between spousal support. So to equalize that difference of income as a result of the marriage breakup. So not every case, right? Because sometimes what will happen is both spouses make the exact same amount of money. Well, in that situation, it's not likely to be any spousal support.
Anything you want to say regarding this in the conclusion?
Yeah, so it's complicated, family law. So I think the main thing is, as a lawyer, I don't necessarily want to see people spend money, thousands of dollars, unnecessarily, right?
And the time.
And the time. So it's really important to get that legal advice up front. So you understand, where do I stand with respect to spousal support, child support, spending time with the kids. So know what your rights are first. If you know what your rights are, then you negotiate with your partner, then chances are there's going to be less fighting and that's going to be better off for everybody in the long run.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Mr. Chaudhary. Thanks for coming to Prime Minister.
You're very welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
ਸੋ ਇਸ ਹਨ ਮਿਸਟਰ ਮੈਲ ਚੌਧਰੀ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਅੱਜ ਸਟੂਡੀਓ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਿਮਸਨ ਥਾਮਸਨ ਐਂਡ ਐਸੋਸੀਏਟਸ ਤੋਂ। ਸੋ ਨਾਲ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਪਾਰਟਨਰ ਨੇ, ਲਾਇਰ ਨੇ। ਸੋ ਅੱਜ ਫੈਮਿਲੀ ਲਾਅ ਦੇ ਸੰਬੰਧੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕੀਤੀ। ਅੱਜ ਦੇ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ 'ਚ ਇੰਨਾ ਹੀ। ਮੈਨੂੰ ਜੋਗਰਾਜ ਸਿੰਘ ਕਾਲੂ ਨੂੰ ਦਿਓ ਆਗਿਆ। ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦੇਖਦੇ ਰਹੋ ਪ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਮਿਨਿਸਟਰ TV, ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਆਪਣਾ, ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਲਈ।